an international baccalaureate world school underpinned with a social, emotional, learning, and mindfulness approach. Help your child reach their full potential. Visit our website today.
Welcome to This Week in Phuket, where we take a look back on the stories that made the headlines around the island. Starting with some very sad news of yet another drowning victim on Phuket's beaches. A 9-year-old boy drowned earlier this week trying to retrieve his kite from a beach in Mai Khao. Despite efforts, he was later declared dead at Teleng Hospital. A judge ordered a media blackout this week on reporting evidence presented at the trial of Moshe David for the murder of Hungarian businessman Peter Rees, whose body was found in a rubber plantation on Phuket in 2012. He was in court on Monday. The judge requested the ban to prevent the possibility of evidence presented affecting the testimony of other witnesses. Meanwhile, Moshe David is also suspected of killing Hungarian billionaire Laszlo Sapai. A man's remains, thought to be those of Sapai, who's been missing since early 2011, were found in the basement of a villa owned by Mr David in Koh Samui last year. The trial is set to continue on the 24th of February. Malaysia Airlines welcomed its inaugural service from Kuala Lumpur to Krabi. An event was held at the airport and passengers were greeted by senior officials from the airline this week who were waiting with flowers at the arrival gate, but don't worry, it wasn't too emotional. The Krabi KL route will be operating 4 times weekly. Friends of well-known Phuket musician Jeffrey Sevilla are rallying around to raise money for his hospital bills. The 46-year-old was admitted to hospital following a serious asthma attack last week and put into intensive care. Jeffrey, who's originally from the Philippines, has worked in Phuket since 1995, working as a pianist around various places on the island. With no health insurance, he's needed a bit of help from his friends to sort out the medical bills. Phuket Airport's Terminal X is now open for charter flights to the island. The terminal, which handles 1,000 passengers per hour, will ease overcrowding at Thailand's 3rd busiest airport. The new airport for general passengers is reported to be on track for an opening around May next year. A rift is forming among anti-government protesters on the island. 2 protest groups have separated into 2 groups after what one leader has described as a difference of opinions. The former mayor of Rasada has formed a new group he calls the Phuket Patriotic Rebels, which he says will take a harder line than the other group. The new group will apparently adhere more closely to the line taken in Bangkok by the leader of the People's Democratic Reform Committee, Suthep Thaugsuban, who's fighting to shunt the Pheu Thai Party and Prime Minister Shinawatra out of office. A German national is dead after his ultralight inflatable hybrid boat crashed on takeoff in Rawai this week. Reports suggest it exploded when it was around 500 metres up in the air. Staff of a nearby resort dived into the water to try to help. The pilot was pulled from the water but had already drowned after being trapped in the wreckage by his safety harness. The man who made the headlines as the Lost Irishman this week has returned to Ireland. And no, it wasn't Dave O'Connor from Live 89.5's Wake Up. It was actually a man called Francis O'Brien. He was picked up by a member of the public a few weeks ago and taken to Teleng police station, where police thought there was nothing wrong with him, despite the fact that he wasn't able to remember anything apart from the fact that he was on a holiday in Phuket. That's something. The Irish honorary consul told the Phuket News that the nephew of Francis was on his way to Phuket from KL to pick him up and take him home. A Phuket resort has won an award after millions of votes from around the world on TripAdvisor. After only 9 months in operation, the Outrigger Laguna Phuket Beach Resort was hailed by online reviewers on the website as the 8th best hotel for families in Thailand. Now, we need your help. The Phuket Blood Bank is completely out of supplies. The head of the PBC was speaking after the 3rd appeal in 24 hours for O-negative blood. The first appeal for blood for a Norwegian man who's sick in Bangkok hospital was met by donations, but 2 women in the same hospital also require a unit each of the same blood. Stocks of any sort of blood are needed urgently. Please get in contact with the Phuket Blood Bank. Jetstar's Phuket to Melbourne route will be serviced by a Boeing 787 Dreamliner from now on, before transitioning all 3 weekly return services to the Dreamliner from the 30th of March. The Jetstar service from Sydney has already swung over to the new high-tech Boeing aircraft, which uses around 15% less fuel than equivalent planes. According to new research, demand has grown for smaller and cheaper resort villas, condos and apartments in Phuket. It shows that 80% of the villa sales on the island were for properties priced below 15 million baht. There were no villas sold with prices above 35 million baht in the same period. The main nationalities of Phuket villa buyers in the quarter were British, Italian, German and Russian. These purchases mainly focusing on affordable properties costing less than 20 million baht. The West Coast continues to be the most preferred location, particularly the southern part, including Patong. And Phuket isn't running out of water anytime soon. That's according to the Provincial Waterworks Authority, which has countered fears that the island is once again running out of fresh water due to the record numbers of tourists arriving and the long dry season. The authorities say they're confident the supply from Bang Wad Reservoir in Katu, which currently contains 6 million cubic metres of water, more than in most years, is sufficient to meet demand from Katu and Phuket town. And that's the way we saw the news this week. You can keep up to date with all the news by going to thephuketnews.com. More This Week in Phuket next week.
Get ready for Eric Clapton live in Bangkok. The King of Guitar on Sunday, March 2nd at the Impact Arena. 20 years of hit after hit, 6 Grammys and 19 million albums sold. Book now at ThaiTicketMajor.com. Presented by BEC Tarot and locally sponsored by Class Act Media.